And because it didn't do that move fast enough, you could still be down on the trade because the time decay, it's outpacing the directional move. And some of you have seen this happen, and it's just the most frustrating thing to you possible because you got the direction right and you're not making any money. And then you start to think that it's some fraudulent behavior going on, right? It's something rigged. So we often talk about the basis of options and how important it is for you to become an expert at the basis of options. And we try to break it down into three pillars. You have the first pillar, and that's what is the call and the put and what's happening when you sell and buy a call and a put. Do you have a right when you are the buyer, or do you have a right when you're the seller, or do you have an obligation when you're the buyer or the seller? A number of you know already that buyers have rights and sellers have obligations. If you didn't know that, you have to study the basis of options because if you don't, it's going to hinder your performance as you go on in your trading journey. It's going to always be keeping you from making what you should be making. We have the second pillar that we went over a little bit last week, and that is the option chain. It's important to understand all the different aspects of option chain, especially delta, having delta on your option chain, understanding the ask and the bid, understanding where you're at. Are you in the money, out of the money, at the money? It's very, very important. And then it's the third pillar, what we're going to talk about today, and that is basic option strategies. Because if you understand the basic option strategy, you'll be able to understand all the different exotic things people come up with, which is quite a bit. So instead of going over all these different kind of basic strategies, I want to talk about just two, a single put and a single call, buying it and or selling it. So if we start off and we talk about buying of a call, if you are the buyer of a call, you are bullish and you have the right to purchase at the strike price that you buy the call at. The most you can lose when you are the buyer of a call is the amount that you pay. So let's just say for easy math, you paid $10 for this. That's how much you can lose is $1,000 if you paid $10 for this because each option represents 100 shares. So if you hold this to expiration, then you're always, if you buy this at the money or out of the money, you're always going to have less than a 50-50 shot. If you buy this in the money, the best probability you can have is 50-50. In the super majority of time, it's going to be less than 50-50. If you hold something to expiration, as you guys remember last week, we were talking about option probabilities are based at the time of expiration. So if you're going to be a buyer of an option, understanding the basics, you already should know that you shouldn't hold to expiration. Because if you hold to expiration, you're going to most likely lose because you have to supersede the amount that you paid. So in this case, you paid $10. So it has to be higher than $6.42 at expiration because that's the $10 that you paid. It has to be higher than that. So that's a pretty substantial move. I know in this market environment right now, that doesn't seem like a huge move because we're up 3 points, 3.5 points today. But that's big. These probabilities have been proven, they have been tested, they're true. So what is the interesting thing about the TastyTrade platform is that they give you this, what they call probability of 50%. I don't know all the kind of math behind it, but they claim, and I know it for this to be true just by trading options and being a buyer, it's definitely higher than 50%. If you're the buyer and you get out, if you're the buyer in the money or near the at the money, if you get out before expiration, when you have a decent profit at say 50%, you're going to have better than a 50-50 shot. And so TastyTrade is saying you have 59, 60% chance of making 50% here if you exit at 50%. So at some point in this 25-day period, this is going to be worth 50% more than what you paid, or $15. And if that's the case, you ring the register. You might ring it before then. You might ring it at 30% up. But you do not want to hold to expiration when you're just a primary buyer. At least the super majority of the time, 95+% of the time, you don't want to hold to expiration because it's just going to lessen your odds. Now, when you're the buyer of a call, this is where most of us start at if we are starting to trade options because it mirrors what we do the closest of buying shares. When we buy shares, we want it to go up. When we buy a call, we want it to go up. But the big difference is that shares do not have time decay and options do. So often you can buy a call and it can go up and you will still lose. So for example, you paid this $10. It can go up $5 to this 637. And because it didn't do that move fast enough, you could still be down on the trade because the time decay, it's outpacing the directional move. And some of you have seen this happen, and it's just the most frustrating thing to you possible because you got the direction right and you're not making any money. And then you start to think that it's some fraudulent behavior going on, right? It's something rigged. But that's not the case. You just don't understand options well enough yet that time decay is a big factor in options. Before we continue with the video, I just want to quickly point out, if you need any additional help, please consider joining our trading club. You can do that by clicking on the link in the description area, and you'll get a 3-month trial for a flat fee of $60. We look forward to seeing you in the trading club. Back to the video. So that's clear, though. For most of us, buying a call is clear. We want it to go up. If it goes higher, that's how we can potentially make more money, right? Or if we're new, we think we're always going to make more money if it goes up. That's not necessarily the case, especially if you hold to expiration. Now, if you are the buyer of a put, I'm going to show this graph here this time. So the graph would have been going in the other direction if we were to call side. This is the at the money. Going in this direction is going down. Going in this direction is going up. So this is where you would lose at if you were the buyer of the put, and this is where you're to win at if you're the buyer of the put. So the buyer of the put is bearish. You have a right to sell at the strike price. But it's confusing to most people initially because you're buying something and you actually want this to go down, and that's counterintuitive for what we're accustomed to as, buyers of stuff. Normally, when we're buying something, we want it to go up. We don't usually sell something and want it to go down. You have a right to sell at the strike price, but you also have to supersede what you paid. So in this case, it has to go down more than $7.63 at expiration for you to win. So you want to get out of this as well. All the time when you buy, or you don't want to go to expiration. But, see, TastyTrade is saying you only got maybe a 45 to 50% chance of getting 50% in this case. If we went a little in the money, that would get a little better, right? So now it's saying 51 to 50%. That would be a little better of not winning at expiration, but winning 50%. At expiration, it's still, even though we're in the money, it's still 37%. If I went all the way in the money over here on this put, let's just say I went all the way to this 99 delta, right? It's still at expiration less than 50-50. That I'm going to make money. Doesn't mean I'm going to lose everything. It's not going to be out of the money. It's not going to expire worthless, but it doesn't mean I make money because you can see I'm paying over $50.50 for the trade for the position there. That's quite a bit that I have to pay. But as the buyer of a put, you want it to go down. Now let's flip things a little bit. Okay. Let's go over here and let's sell the call. So if you're the seller of the call, you have the obligation to sell shares to the buyer. If you're selling this call, let's say just a naked call, you have the obligation to sell shares to the buyer. The buyer has a right to purchase, so somebody has to sell it to him. So the seller has the obligation to sell. But look at this. We're selling this at the 51 strike here, or delta, I should say. And at expiration, we have a 63% chance of winning. We have a 74%, according to TastyTrade, of getting 50%, even though we're selling at the money. The reason why, if this was $10, is darn near $10. That's our cushion. It's a $10 cushion. So it has to go up $10. It has to go past at expiration. It has to be past this 641 before we lose. This is why we are primary option sellers, because the move has to be big before we lose. If we're the option buyer, the move has to be big before we win. And that's a huge difference. You have the odds on your side instantaneously when you're the option seller. And if you know how to adjust it, like we teach in that adjusting course, you're just going to increase your odds. How is it that this market has went against me to this upside with that 0DT trade that we just put on, and we still have the odds of winning? Because we've been able to adjust it well to this point. And I don't have this feeling that I'm going to lose on the trade. There's still too much time to go. We've been in the trade for just over an hour. And my adjusting skills are too great for the market to beat me at this point. Can it beat me later in the day? Yes. As time gets closer to expiration, you get less and less ability to adjust. And that's for the 0DT trade, and that's for any other trade. But just understand that if you have an edge when you put it on, and then when you have an edge when you adjust, you're going to be empowered. You're going to feel like, okay, the market has to do something big, something extraordinary to beat you. Understand what are your probabilities when you put it on, what are your rights and obligations, but don't be fooled by probabilities. Understand probability of touch. Understand it's better to take profits before expiration, a lot of times way before expiration. So that's just for example, when I do a 0DT trade, I'd love and try my very, very best to be out of the trade almost all the time within 2 hours, trying to get out of trades as soon as possible. So the seller of a call has the obligation to sell shares. You want to understand that, but you're bearish when you're the seller of the call. You want it to go down. If we flip this over to the put side, your odds still are high, as you can see down here. You still got a 63% chance. You still got 70+%. TastyTrade is saying 80+% chance of winning 50%. But I want you to look at this when we flip it back to the call side, because I needed to point this out. When you're selling a naked call, you technically have unlimited risk to the upside, right? It says it's unlimited here. It's not going to go up forever, but it can feel like that if it jumps up a ton. So you have to be very, very careful, understand what you're doing when you're selling naked calls. When you sell a naked put, even though your probability is high, as we just demonstrated, you do technically have risk all the way to zero. But this can be one of the most conservative strategies, the selling of the put, if you're okay with taking ownership of the shares. Can it still go to zero? Yes. Not an index like this SPY, but any other stocks themselves, individual company stocks can go to zero. Some of you remember Sears. Some of you remember Kmart. Some of you remember Circuit City. And it's probably a ton that I can't think of right now that you can probably think of that was just awesome household names that felt like they were killing it, that they're gone. They went the way of the dinosaur. Companies can go out of business. So technically your risk is all the way to zero. It's not unlimited on the put side because you can't lose more than zero. It can feel like that if it does go to zero. You want to understand that. If you're the seller of the put, you have the obligation to purchase shares. That can be a very conservative strategy if you're okay with purchasing shares, but you have to really mean it. Because if something drops a lot, when you put that what is known as a cash secured put on, you could, and most likely, if you didn't have a true conviction, want to change that. You're going to get crazy nervous because it's already dropped so much. Now, we've went over the buying of a call, the selling of a call, right? So you can either be bullish with a call or bearish with the call only. Because we went over the buying of a call, which is bullish, the selling of a call, which is bearish. We also went over the put, the buying of a put and the selling of the put. And you can either be bullish or bearish using only a put. If you buy a put, you're bearish and you have a right. If you sell a put, you're bullish and you have an obligation. Now, those are 4 different trades we just came up with, and that's just the basic option strategy. Just a single leg. That's 4 different strategies already. Now we can put together several others by doing a combination of the two. So for example, if we sold this put, I'm just picking any strikes. Let's put this 25 strike. And let's just say we pick this 25 strike call and we sell that. Well, this is what is called a strangle. And I'm going to show it on the curve view here so I can see this better. All right, so this is the at the money line here. A strangle means that you are selling the put and the call simultaneously at the same time. Just like the previous trade, you have risks. In this example, you have risks all the way to zero, and you have technically unlimited risk to the upside. It's almost like an iron condor, which we're not going to talk about today because we're trying to just use single legs here on both sides. But this is a inherently neutral strategy. You want it to stay in between your short leg here and your short leg here. Short leg on the put side and short leg on the call side. This is where you win. If it stays in between. You lose if it goes down too much and you have risk all the way to zero, and you lose if it goes up too much and you technically have unlimited risk to the upside. But this is what is called a strangle. You've learned a basic strategy of a single call and a single put. If you put them together, this is a strangle. This is a selling of a strangle. You're receiving monies into your account. You can also flip this and be the buyer of the strangle. Right? If we flip this and we say swap, now you're the buyer of this strangle. Right? Same thing, but this time when you're the buyer of the strangle, you want a big move to happen, right? So it flips your win zone. Your win zone was this area up here earlier, but now this is loss zone if it stays in a range, if it stays in between the 2 strikes. But now if it drops a lot, this is where you're going to win all the way to zero. And if it goes up a lot, this is where you're going to have unlimited upside. if you did this strangle. Most people don't do a strangle like this. Most strangles are selling, but I want you to understand this is the basics. You can flip this strategy. So we've now done 6 different strategies. So if you wanted to, you can start marrying the options together, a selling and a buying. And this is what we call the bionic bull. I can sell this put and I can buy this call here. So this is bullish and this is also bullish, but it's just 2 different ways. You can see that we have risk to 0 here, right? But now we flip it and we have unlimited upside potential. This is what we call the bionic bull here at Dorian Trader. This is part of the safeguard strategy. Understanding the combinations of just using single options. Obviously, we can flip it, right? We can flip it and do it something like this. You would call this the bionic bear, I guess, right? We don't do this very often because you have unlimited upside and the market has a tendency to drift up. We've talked about statistics on that quite a bit in the past. So, for example, the market has like a 63% chance, or history has told us that 63% of the time the market goes up each month. I think it's quarterly, and each quarter is like 74% of the time, like more than one standard deviation, because one standard deviation is 68% of the time. So the market goes up most of the time. Does it go down faster? Yes, but it goes up most of the time. 54% of the days are up. You have an edge just by being bullish. And so if you understand the base of options, strategies, and structure your trade according to just the fact that being bullish is an edge, but if you structure it that even if you're bullish and it drops a lot, and you can still win if you structure it correctly, and vice versa. So you want to understand the basis of option strategies, because you'll be able to understand all these different combinations. It'll just come natural to you. You'll be able to see something that someone comes up with and you'll say, okay, that's overall bullish. That's overall bearish. Right? That's overall neutral. Okay, the risk lies here or lies there. You want to understand the basics of options.